A very good morning to you all. I'm Dr. Fatima Sugarwala from Kansagra Mahila College, Rajkot. And along with me, I have Dr. Sulbha Devpurkar from Godani College, Porbandar. Our topic today is Death of a Salesman by Arthur Miller, an American playwright of the 20th century. Critics believe that Arthur Miller is one of the finest 20th century playwrights. And his plays will be produced time and again for years to come because Miller has been able to dramatize the problems, the woes, the sufferings of the common people. And as a result, he is a very realistic playwright. His plays have been translated, specifically The Death of a Salesman, has been translated in 30 languages. And it has been produced all over the world.
He has presented the contemporary life in the best manner, we can say.
Yeah, that is very true. And beyond that, this particular play, The Death of a Salesman, had a profound influence on the American public.
Yes.
Almost everyone, like most Americans, and specifically the aged Americans, almost like at the age of 60, they started identifying themselves with the protagonist of the play, Willie Loman. Death of a Salesman, when it was published, or rather produced, I would say, I should correct myself, when it was produced on the theatre, Morozko Theatre, on the 10th of February 1949, it was acclaimed tremendously because of its organic unity of setting, staging, and acting, which can be considered to be the alchemy of a theatre. So now we are going to start with a briefing. I'll ask Dr. Sulbha to continue and give some briefing of Death of a Salesman. Will show you some PPTs which will help you to understand things so much better.
Yes, this is a play, American play, and it's in 2 acts. It is considered a bit complex play.
Can we, Sulbha, start with the briefing of Arthur Miller first?
Sure. There are some biographical details about the writer himself, because when you want to know a work, it is better to look at the background of the writer, and that background has also, in a way, contributed to his writing. I think his own personal experiences are reflected.
Yeah, some of them.
Yes.
And we begin with Miller was born in Harlem in October 17, 1915, as you see on the screen. His parents were Polish, and his father was Isidore and Augusta Miller. His father's business was that of a miller. He used to sell hats and coats and all that. And during the time of the recession period, at that moment of time, the family went into a tremendous financial crisis. And this is how Miller, when he wanted to go to college, he could not go. He had financial crisis, as well as he had very low grades.
Yes.
Okay, so when he could not get admission at the Michigan University, he wrote a letter to the principal, and he convinced the principal that I will do my best. He convinced the principal that if he is given a second chance, he will be able to prove himself. And this is how he got an admission at the University of Michigan. He indulged himself, or he worked at journalism. He worked as an editor in the Michigan Daily. And most important, his greatest interest was experimenting with theatre. He was a prolific writer, and a few of his works we have mentioned. He has written a lot of works, but some of them are, one of them is an outstanding novel Focus, collection of short stories, an autobiography, and most particularly, all his plays and stories work on social issues of an individual in a social and emotional trauma.
Yes, he addresses personal as well as public issues, something that relevant to the universal man as well as the person, individual,
Yeah.
and the society with which is related.
Like his
So-
play, the first play that he wrote, which is not a very popular play, No
but-
Villain.
Yeah.
It is on Marx's system, Marxist theory.
Yes.
And he explores an individual who faces problems in the society during the time of strikes. Then his second play, The Great Disobedience, makes a connection between the prison system and capitalism. Then you have The Golden Years, a story that affects of capitalism on the fate of an individual. This play, The Man Who Had All the Luck, in 1944, talks about again an individual as a victim of chance. And All My Sons,
All
rather,
My Sons, yes.
has become a very popular play. And this particular play is a wartime play, how an individual takes wrong decisions. Okay. Then we have The Crucible, which is again about a play based on the Salem witch trials, which was a very important thing in America about superstitions and witches.
Yes, that-
So this became a very powerful play as far as removal of superstitions is
And
concerned.
the writer also underwent some sufferings because of that play.
And the death of a salesman.
Yes. And All My Sons and Death of a Salesman have one common thing in them, that they profile the father-son relationships in detail. So both the plays have that in common.
But if you go to see the entire Arthur Miller's plays, he keeps on one side the individual
Yes.
and the other side the social
Family,
problems,
yes.
specifically the social issues.
Social issues.
Okay? And incorporates how families are influenced by social issues. So now I request, there are a number of awards given,
Yes.
which we are not going much
He
in
was a
detail.
well decorated person.
Yeah, it's
Yes.
you have a lot of awards displayed on the screen, and most of them are also on the internet, since internet is so
Yes.
accessible avenue today of media, which you can
Yes.
already one of the things which I need to point out is that in 1965, towards the end of your screen, you will see that he was elected the president of PEN, that is an organization of poets, essayists and novelists, and he played a stupendous role in this particular organization.
Yes, and this play in particular, as we say, it is one of his most successful play, and it was staged across the globe in many languages. It was translated and was very influential of drama. Some of the dramatic techniques are also very inventive. At that time, they were presented on the stage probably for the first time. Now, because you are the students of arts, probably you are studying this as a text
TY students,
in,
yeah,
yes,
it's a Rushed
as
University
a compulsory
basically.
subject. What you need to know is that you have to look at this play as a play about Willie Loman, who is a salesman, and though he is an ordinary person, he has big dreams about himself and particularly about his eldest son, Biff. Now, if you read the play, you might find some of the things difficult because the protagonist, that is Willie Loman, he sometimes thinks of the past, and the past is presented before the audience as if it is happening now. So maybe you will find some of the scenes very confusing, but remember that it is the mind of Willie Loman that is presented before the audience sometimes,
Yeah, because-
rather than the actual happenings,
Yeah,
actual
because
reality.
Miller has taken the stream of consciousness technique,
yes.
okay, where he takes the character to the past, brings him to the present, takes him
Yes.
to the future. So there are a lot of inroads of thought exchange.
Yes, so that is one thing. It is particularly centered about a family, Willie Loman's family. He and his wife Linda have two sons, Biff and Happy. And though Willie wants them to be very happily settled, somehow Biff is not successful in his life, and Willie Loman himself also is not well off. He thinks very well about himself, he has dreams about his life, but somehow his dreams are very far from reality. He is a salesman, he sells things that are produced by others, he earns profit for his masters, and when he is old, he is dismissed from his job. He is not needed anymore. So that is the time of frustration. He is a person who works very hard, he drives a long distance, but then sometimes he doesn't earn anything. And he is very jealous about his neighbor who is very successful. Particularly his son is successful. While Willie thought that his son was better than his neighbor's son. But it turns out to be differently. His wife Linda is very, very devoted wife. She supports her husband in all ups and downs, and she sees everything in very clear perception. She is the only person who could see reality in the proper sense, but she does not contradict her husband and tell him that, see, what you are dreaming is not possible, because she doesn't have the heart to tell him that. She supports him all the time. Now, in the end, Willie kills himself so that his son Biff would get the money from insurance company. And that is the only way he could help his son Biff. Now, because he has been dismissed from his job, Howard represents the capitalist world. So he looks at Willie Loman as someone who is no longer useful. And he just dismisses that old man. Now he has only one option before him, and he he kills himself so that the insurance company will give $20,000.
Ma'am, before we go to that idea,
Yeah.
can you clarify the last point? Like at home, Willie finds that his son,
Yeah.
Biff, loves him.
Yeah.
Okay, in spite of his affair with a woman.
Yes, because Biff had a notion that his father is not as great a person as he imagined in his childhood. In his childhood, Biff worshipped his father. He was like a god to him, and he thought that he was capable of many, many things. But then he was disillusioned once when he saw his father with a woman. So he couldn't tolerate the idea that his father cheated his wife in this way. And that is how he lost faith in his father, and that derailed him in
True.
some way. Otherwise, he had a potential, he could have been something, but then his life goes astray.
So when he
Now,
grows
at
up,
one point, Willie realizes that though his son is not successful the way he wanted him to be, he still loves him and he is capable of so many things. And
So-
that is probably the turning point.
so you mean to convey that Biff Loman had a
Yes.
love-hate relationship
Yes,
with his
with
father.
the father, yeah.
Okay.
And also you can say that it is the life of a modern man, the one who has to travel all the way long hours every day, the person who is away from family for long hours,
Okay.
and all those things are put together So a family, the bond is always there.
All right.
Yes, and I think the strongest point is Willie Loman's love for his son, because he refuses to believe that Biff would be less successful. He wouldn't even accept anything less than what he had dreamt about.
And so all the while his hopes are alive.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
And he has always the highest hopes for
So
his
one
son.
day the day of success will come.
And yeah, not the ordinary success. He wants his son to be someone
Very rich and very powerful.
very great person
Very great.
in a small time. Although we can say that his dreams are unreal, but that's a father, and one can always feel that he has the
But
heart of a father.
his dreams, he doesn't know that his dreams are unreal. That's the illusion in which he
Yes.
lives. He has no idea.
Yes.
We as audience can analyze it because we know all aspects of the play right in front of us.
Yes.
But Willie Loman is absolutely in the dark. He lives in his world of illusion, thinking that his dreams are perfect.
Perfect. Yes.
And there will come a time when he will be able to achieve it.
In fact, it is his strong conviction that is the main point of the play.
True.
That in spite of all the odd things that are happening in his life, he still has belief in himself, in his
True.
son. And that is what is going to take the family out of it.
Can you throw a little bit of light on the this thing, $2,000 insurance company thing?
$20,000.
$20,000.
Because that is the in fact, this is another aspect of American life. They are always paying some kind of installments, premiums, this, that.
Which
so
is, I think,
whatever,
happening in
really
Indian-
learned.
This is also happening in Indian life now. People live on installments
They
now.
would be paying installments
Loans
for
and
car,
installments.
refrigerator, washing machine, everything. And by the time now everything is over, Willie Loman is no more there. But he might have done it in order to secure some capital amount for his son. And that is the only way he could have something. Also, Fatima, I would draw your attention to the fact that there is no mention of a provident fund amount or nothing from the Howard and Company.
But this is a problem in America even today. You see, the way India is so glued on insurances, and we have the mediclaims, and we have all those kind of securities, and even common man wants to do it. Whereas in United States, the saving aspect is very minimal.
Yeah.
They don't have the concept of saving. They earn, they spend.
Yeah.
And that is the biggest problem of the present time America also. And that is also, I think, cropping up in the youth of India as well.
Yes.
Yeah.
They are spending money.
So that's why there is no provident fund provision.
Yes. So when he is sacked from the job, he doesn't have anything to rely on. So it is the commercial world that is very cruel, very indifferent to an individual. That is again shown to us through what happens to Willie Loman. And Howard represents the capitalist mindset, because Howard was a baby when Loman was working for the firm. He has done so much all these years for the company, and even after that he has been dismissed like anything. So these are some of the things. And I would like to tell you something about the play, that some characters appear on the stage, but they are actually in the imagination of Willie Loman. For example, Uncle Ben, that is the elder brother of Willie Loman. He died some time back, and he visited Loman long back. So when he appears on the stage, actually it is the imagination of Loman, and he talks to him as if he actually is there, but other characters cannot see him because he doesn't exist there. Now this Uncle Ben is again a kind of symbolic presentation of America's idea of success, because is the person who was nobody. He just went to the forest, and when he emerged out of it, he was a successful person, a rich person. So that is the idea of success, that is the idea of becoming rich. I think in the old times, Americans used to find the gold mines and diamonds, and that is how many of them grew rich.
Because the American West, it is called the American Adam, the American way of success.
Yes,
is
so many of them dreamed of
ideas,
these things. So that is the idea of success that Willy Loman has. And once you have to understand that certain things happen in the past. So when the children are younger, Biff, then this Happy, and even the neighbor's son, they are younger, then it is the past. And then when they are grown up, it is the present. When Linda sometimes would look younger, as she was in the older days, and then she would appear
one more
as
image of Linda is when she was young, she was always shown as carrying a basket of clothes for washing.
She is always doing some work.
And now when she's old, she's shown with an image of darning her stockings. These are the two
and
separate
that is
images,
very painful for Willy Loman, because he presented a pair of stockings to that
his
woman,
to his girlfriend.
To his girlfriend.
Okay, so now I think we move
I think we
forward
shall move to the themes,
which are the fundamental and universal ideas exposed in a literary work of art. The very first idea is the impact of modernity on American social life. Actually, the play focuses on 1950s. And all the modern aspects like the TV, fridge, gas heater, everything, all the modern gadgets are actually focused here, because with modernity technology came up, and Willy Loman has accepted technology in his household very happily.
The car particularly.
The car particularly is obsessed by his cars. But then beyond that, he has not understood modernity, because with modernity comes challenges, and he is not mentally prepared to face challenges in life. And he is into a world of 1950s, which is an American business world. The concept of the American business world is very artistically picked up by Arthur Miller. And because Willy Loman has not updated himself, he has no additional skills. As a result, at the age of 60, working 34 years in his company of Howard Wagner, he finds himself jobless. Howard Wagner is, as ma'am said, the symbol of capitalism. And when he finds that Willy Loman is now not useful to him, he is not producing anything, he wants to throw him off like a peel of fruit. And at that moment of time, Willy objects, he is very angry, but Howard's one statement is, business is business. This concept of hire and fire is in corporate companies which established in America since 50s, which is the same idea coming into India now. Today the corporate companies are no longer like complacent jobs. Today the youth will have to prove themselves to make themselves worthwhile. I mean, otherwise in corporate companies you get a job and tomorrow the next day they can dismiss you. Not like so secure jobs that we have, that nobody can send us out.
The person is a commodity.
Person is now, to what extent it is a commodity is a very debatable question which we don't get into right now. But the American business world is very artistically discussed, and Willy Loman is the protagonist here, whereas the American business world, the American social world is shown as an antagonist in this particular. Willy Loman is also one of those Americans who believes in this dream of success. And success, the meaning of the American dream of success is the epitome of being the all-American person. Therefore, achieving it means you are truly American. All those who dream of success are considered to be true Americans. And like everyone, Willy Loman also dreamed of this. The meaning of this dream is material success. Willy Loman believed that success will come to him with money.
Yeah, even
Okay.
happiness.
Yeah,
he thinks.
happiness is equated in his mind with money. And that is why Willie is always of the opinion that his son is going to be a rich man, a very popular man,
In a very short time.
and in a short while. Second misconceptions of his dream is that he believed that charisma and external personality are
Yes.
two important factors
For-
which
for
will
a-
help him achieve his dream. So he constantly praises his children.
They are good looking and he relies on that.
Yeah,
the
he
physical strength.
Yeah,
and
their
everything.
physical strength, because the boy is a sportsman, he's very handsome, and he calls them that you are like Adonis. Okay. Then once you see, he had to go for a meeting with Bill Oliver, and who was the employer of
Yes.
Willie, of Biff.
Biff.
At that time, Willie is more interested in what Biff is wearing.
Yes.
Okay. So Linda says he's going to wear a blue suit, and he says, oh, blue suit, he can be anything in that suit. That means the physicality was so important to Willie Loman that for him he did not think beyond physicality. So at the same time, another aspect
He
that
thought that was the key to success.
that's the path to success. Another thing was to be well liked.
Yes.
That was one of his biggest obsession, that people must like you. And this, he felt that because my children are very smart, very handsome, everybody, they're very popular, people like them, and Bernard is liked, but is not well liked. So this fixation that Willie Loman suffered from external qualities of attractiveness are at odds with his work. He keeps on praising his brother, as you said, Ben, his brother, Willie's brother, who becomes very successful, who has achieved a lot. But he kind of doesn't know how to do it.
Yes.
Right? And he never he's impressed by his brother's success. He keeps on talking about it. He tells his children that look, that man is a genius incarnate. Beyond that, he's also telling his brother that look, he's telling his brother in his hallucination that I'm bringing them up like you.
Like you.
Okay.
In the very rough manner.
Yeah, I'm bringing them up like you, rough and tough, and something you can achieve anything in life. So, compared to Willie Loman, whose dream of success was external personality, on the contrary, Ben's interpretation of American dream was completely different. His idea was to start from nothing and to achieve something. So he uses this. I walk into the jungle. I was 17. When I walked out, I was 21. And by God, I was rich. So Ben was his icon of success.
Yes.
Okay, his idol of success. And he always wanted to be like Ben. But he fails to understand that the 5 years that Ben has taken to achieve success is not through miracle or through his personal charm, but through tremendous hard work.
Yes.
Okay.
And I mean, he was an explorer into
Yeah.
new areas,
True.
new places, because he went to Africa.
He's an adventurer, he's a
Yes.
hard worker, and he proved himself. Contrary, like he meets Bernard also, as you mentioned, Charlie's son Bernard,
who is successful.
who's a very successful. Charlie and Biff were students together, classmates together. And when Bernard grows up, he turns into a successful barrister.
Lawyer,
He's
yeah.
going to present a case at the Supreme Court. When he sees Bernard so successful, Willie breaks down. And he pathetically says, how did you do it? Why didn't he catch up? Why didn't his son catch up? That was so painful in the play when a father loses all his hopes of his son, and some small shade, a glimpse of hope is still living in him, but that makes him really shattered. In his pursuit, another point I want to put forward, ma'am, is that in his pursuit of the American dream, he loses his moral values.
Yes, small things like Biff steals a fountain pen, which is the symbol of probably a prestigious place, or God knows, because he says, I do not know why I did it.
Yeah, so that
But it's an impulse.
Yeah, but why is that impulse come? Because of the conditioning that Biff had all these years.
Yes,
See, when Biff was a child, when Biff and Happy were children, Willie used to encourage them to cheat.
Yes.
Willie used to encourage them to lie. He even tells Biff that he should copy in his examination, in his state examination. When the children steal cement and concrete and rubber from the site, from the building site, he encourages them. He considers that as resourcefulness.
He even thinks that it is not necessary for him to learn maths in ordinary manner because he is not a worm. That is the word he uses.
Yeah, the bookworm, as he calls Bernard as. And then, when
he thinks his child is special and he would be successful.
He lives under that illusion of his children being great. And one more point is that this is a very delicate point when he picks up the football from his coach's locker.
Yes.
Willie doesn't say anything. In fact, he congratulates his son. And this dishonesty, this dishonesty in the family has been running for years together. So Willie, Happy and Biff all are trapped in this false image. Okay.
And they feel guilty about it also, and they live with it.
Now they are too much immersed into that false image. Yes. And as a result, so Arthur Miller wants to convey that the death of a salesman is a true and intelligent criticism of the American dream, because this particular frustration that Willie is going through is because of his misunderstanding of the dream. The actual dream of success is not a wrong one.
Yes.
Every parent, every individual wants to be successful in life. There's nothing wrong in success. But how one goes about it is very important. The idea is that you set up a goal for yourself, an objective for yourself, and pursue that objective. But that doesn't happen in the case of Willie Loman. So automatically his frustrations, he considers the dream as a yardstick of his self-worth. And this
but
finally,
he is a very strong-willed person, and
I wouldn't call him a strong-willed person. I refuse to accept that, because he's basically a very weak-willed person. He's
a dreamer.
Yeah, he's a dreamer. He starts something and he cannot complete it.
Yes.
Okay. So that's why he continuously feels himself betrayed.
Yes.
He hopes, he has a lot of expectations from everyone, but he is himself not able to fulfill those expectations. So he believes when Biff doesn't become successful, he believes that he has betrayed him.
Yes, but the thing is, before an ordinary salesman, there are many challenges if we look at it from that point of view.
Okay.
So he is always struggling even to make the family running.
Like ends meet here.
Yes,
financially.
ends meet. And for children's education. So he is trying to find some way out always. As Linda says, that whatever he earns usually goes in paying installments.
True,
and
very
all
true.
that. So he has his own methods to survive. But he has a very good image of a salesman. He thought that when he dies, there will be many people coming for the funeral.
Those are all illusions.
That doesn't happen.
I wouldn't call it reality.
Yes, okay? But then it turns out that a salesman is a very ordinary person, and all the friends and acquaintances.
So that's the confused values he lives by, and that leads to his downfall. All the confused things that he has about life, okay, and brings it. That is what exactly Arthur Miller wants to show, that he wants to bring about the imperfections of the dream because of Willie Loman's confused ideas of life. He believes that extra personality is great. He believes that a salesmanship is a wonderful job, but he has no skills to live up to it. So, like at the end, his dreams are shattered. So he, at the age of 34, he becomes jobless, he becomes broke.
And yes, there is one more thing, that when Willie and Ben talk about their father, now that is the only person who manufactured flutes and sold them.
Their
so
grandfather.
He was the father. So that was the time when a person was everything. He would manufacture things, he would sell them,
an
he would
individual
have
was everything.
So now that time has passed, now the profit will go to someone else. Someone else will be selling the commodities, and someone else will be doing the manufacturing, and one person will be the owner enjoying all the profits.
Obviously,
all the benefits.
that is the change
So
of
it
the
is
business
the change
world.
of commercial
So
world.
one has to adapt to those changes which he fails to do.
Yes,
He doesn't accept
but
that
he still
change.
thinks that his father was a great man with beard and
but
very
you
impressive
listen, but you
person.
see, just by living in the past,
Yes.
we cannot exist in the future. We have to
Definitely.
take a day by itself, you see. And that's what I feel, that happy his dreams are shattered. And what eventually happens is that his sons do not turn up the way he expected. Happy turns into a carefree and a spendthrift person. Biff grows up to be a drifter. He keeps on losing his jobs because of his weaknesses of stealing. And this twisted version, American version that he has, takes Willie to a decline. And this leads him to his mental instability. And this repercussions of the mental instability is in his own personal life. He keeps on controversial statements.
Yes.
Like at one moment, he's very full of praise about Biff. And he says that Biff is a very hardworking man. Second moment, the very next moment, he'll say Biff is a lazy boy.
Yeah.
Sometimes he tells Linda that you're my foundation. And the very next moment, he is rude. He is insulting to Linda. This goes further, and he enters into a state of hallucination. Just as you were mentioning in the plot goes from past and present and future. It's because of hallucination. He starts hallucinating. And in his state of hallucination, he also develops these tendencies of suicidal tendencies. Once while he was going on he tries to kill himself on a bridge.
Yes.
Okay, he has made this attempt which you were saying
Earlier
about the 20,000.
also
Yeah, he tries to kill himself earlier. Again, he has brought a gas hose in the house and he wants to kill himself with a gas hose and all that.
But it is also part of his frustration, because there is apparently no way out. Every day he is borrowing money from Charlie, and that is how they are working at home.
But that's exactly what
So
Miller wants to convey.
Yes, that is the only way
That
of
when
getting out.
when an individual reaches a stage of frustration,
Yes.
first is, why should he reach that stage of frustration? When
one
we have
who has
confused
worked
ideas.
for 34 years, he should have at least something to...
And not only physical work for 34 years, Miller wants to point out that did he put his emotional and mental value in that work? Which Willie Loman failed to do so. Willie did not, he put the physical value in his work, but he did not apply mentally and emotional value to his work. And that's why even at the age of 60, he is drifting. His son at the age of 34 is jobless.
Yes.
So basically it's Willie Loman who has not been able to do that, and that is why he starts finding now the world of dreams, the world of hallucination to be more perfect than the realistic world. He starts living into
it's
that.
It's a kind of escape from
And,
reality. In psychology, they say that it saves a person from totally getting disintegrated. So it's a kind of way out of reality, but it saves a person.
So I also feel that we should analyze the play from a psychoanalysis point of view. It in a state of delusion, psychoanalysts say that in a state of delusion, the patient has fantastic ideas of reference and grandeur and believes that he is a man of great influence and power. This is exactly what Willie Loman is doing in his personal life. He starts eulogizing himself. He tells his children that I'm the most popular person in Newmarket. Even if I send my card inside, people say, oh, Willie Loman is here. Then the police is looking after my car. And more than that, like he tells, I had coffee with the mayor of Providence. So all this false pride, he indulges in false pride. And this particular idealism he creates, the aura that he creates around himself, his children are brought up into that aura. And this particular thing, as the delusion keeps on growing, another psychoanalyst, Henry Glitterman, states that delusions are further supported by hallucination, and in this state the person hears voices. Willie Loman hears the voices of his brother Ben. Okay. And that stage of his voice is he cannot differentiate between reality, he cannot differentiate between fantasy and reality. So he is lost in his past memories, and his memories become so real to him that he loses contact with reality. And this constant mood swings from illusion to reality. Okay,
Yes.
at times, like even there is a scene shown where Charlie and Willie are playing cards together. At that moment, he goes into his hallucination. And he's
imagines
talking to
that-
Charlie, he's talking to his brother Ben. So an audience, if you're watching the performance on the stage, it's brilliant. But if a reader,
Yes.
the students, when they read it,
They read it for
they
the first
find
time.
that they find it terribly confusing unless you read the play in detail and try and understand every aspect of life.
Yes.
So
sometimes the
yeah,
children
it's
are
a
small,
psychological
sometimes they are grown
yeah,
up.
true. This
Yes.
psychological state of mind. But one point I would like to go ahead is self-realization. In the play, you will find that nobody has reached that stage of self-realization. Willie does not ever do it.
No,
Happy
Biff
never does
wants
it.
to-
And only Biff reaches that stage of self-realization. So then we have these feelings that Biff is happy, is going through, Willie is going through a feeling of abandonment, a fear of abandonment. Then there is this scene of the Frank Chop's house, which is a very effective and a painful scene where the two boys leave Willie over there in a pathetic condition. And for Biff, Willie is a phony man. So one important aspect we should cover up is that what does Willie sell if he's a salesman? And Arthur Miller wants to tell us that he represents every man. Miller wants everyone to identify himself with this salesman who is a broken man in a capitalist world. Because Miller is a socialist and he wants these
Yes,
aspects to be
There is a
covered.
Marxist interpretation of
Marxist
his,
interpretation. We have number of motives which we have discussed about
Yes.
Hercules and Adonis. And Dave Singleman is one salesman whom Willie idealizes. He wants to become like him. Then we have the African jungle where Uncle Ben had gone in and come out. And the shabby Brooklyn is the place where Willie lives, which is artistically combined between the two. Then you have plenty of symbols.
Yes.
The symbol of seeds and diamonds and stockings, which we have discussed in this thing. Diamonds is success, which Uncle Ben turns out to be. Stockings is the one that Willie gives to his girlfriend, and his wife is continuously darning the old socks. Then seeds is a little bit very unusual kind of a symbol where reflects Willie's guilt and
his failure, because he fails in it, but every time he wants to do something in his backyard, so his optimism is also reflected in seeds. He tries to grow something each time.
This scene of Requiem is the final scene, and it's a very pathetic scene.
Yes, Linda particularly cries in the end.
The play begins with Linda, the play ends with Linda.
It is also said that the play is Linda's tragedy rather
Of course,
than Norman's
it's definitely Linda's tragedy, because in all the dreams that Willie has created and the sons create, the person who suffers the most is Linda. Okay, so
she says that by now all the installments of the house are played.
that is the saddest part of the play, which I feel. And she's lamenting. She's in front of the graveyard. She's in the graveyard in front of Willie's tomb, and she's saying, "I made the last payment. Why did you have to do it?" And this is how Willie's tragedy is more Linda's tragedy than Willie himself.
Himself. And now, students, because you have an American play on your syllabus, just think that it is not only a foreign text, but it has some relevance with the Indian scenario also.
Very true.
And the commercial world which is emerging before us today is very similar to what has been portrayed in
and even the
Death of a
parent-children
Salesman.
relationship.
Yes, the generations that are drifting apart, that also can be seen this way. So you can identify Willy Loman's life, also the urban life as it is shown in the play, that Willy Loman's house is a singular house, while near the house there are apartments, the big buildings are rising, so it is a kind of making the house a dwarf.
Yes.
So it's
dwarfing
overshadowing it. It's the same thing that's happening in the urban areas these days, the cities. So that is one thing. In the corporate sectors, the individuals have to struggle in a way. They have to sell their efficiency.
Yeah. Today is the world where you need to sell your qualities,
Yes.
and you have to upbuild your qualifications. This is our message to the students. You
the students
look
also.
and have a focus of life, build up an objective, and pursue the objective. This is the crux of this particular play, which is that's why it's so contemporary.
Yes.
And the characters of Willy Loman are not just in the play, but they are real life characters which are applicable all over the
They are
world.
universal, but more and more applicable, related to the modern world, the commercial world that is existing today. So there is little space for emotions, and more is attention is given to where the profit comes from, and where the success lies, and all these things.
It's like introspecting within yourself and
Yes.
looking for your strong points and working over your weaknesses.
Yes.
That is what Arthur Miller in his contemporariness wants to convey. I think we have tried our best to justify almost all aspects of the play. But this play is a very vast one, and it requires consistent introspection, reading, and I wish the students are going to do it. We wish you all the best.
Yes, and we
for
would
your future
say
as
that
well.
you read it at least twice so that you understand it
Because
well.
we
It's
had
a
to
bit
read it at
complex
least twice.
play.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, it's a complex play, but it is very much relevant and contemporary.
But
we wish you learned
reread
something from it.
You will like it very much, and you won't be able to forget the play. It's
True,
a very
right.
good play, and wish you all the good for your exams. We suggest some readings to you also, if you can find the readings, and apart from the text that you can see on the tabletop, probably, yeah. So the text is the main thing. If you go through the text 2-3 times,
One
that
has
will
to,
help you. Yeah,
because there is
better.
nothing that can replace the text. It is beautiful language,
Yes.
and every dialogue of the play is so meaningful. So
Yes.
I wish most teachers will also inspire students to read the text.
And there are also film adaptations, and
Yeah.
you can see certain
Thank you
things
so
on-
much for being with us, and have a nice day.
Thank you.